So the claim I'll be responding to today is that video games have significant beneficial aspects on the human mind and society. And the three secondary claims that I'll be responding to are first, that video games provide benefits to kids as well as adults. Second, that video games provide significant help in medical treatment. And last, that video games improve confidence as well as allow people to develop social skills. So the first, that education benefits that provides educational benefits to children and adults. So as far as children goes, the advocate claimed that video games provide historical information for kids, and they cited Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty as their examples. They had no factual evidence or really any citations, just sort of their own experience. And if you go to the Assassin's Creed wiki and you search historical inaccuracies, there are 1,600 results, including misinformation about Boston Tea Party and the Declaration of Independence, as well as in their Civil War game, the French soldiers have English accents. And then as far as Call of Duty goes, the advocate claimed that, quote, that Call of Duty was, quote, based on real life, end quote, despite the fact that 8 of the Call of Duty games involve zombies. As far as how there are educational benefits for adults, they claimed that it helped in job-related skills, yet in an article by Michael Peck, who has been covering the military for nearly a decade, he stated that I once asked the Army why they wouldn't use Wii to practice physical tasks like fixing a tank. They replied that if they needed to teach a soldier to turn a wrench, they would get him to turn a real wrench. He goes on basically to explain that this is because for certain jobs, you really need to have the physical, you need to know how to physically do it, and that includes surgery and the military, 2 things that the advocate mentioned, but did not address this aspect of it. So the second claim, moving on to that one, is that video games provide significant help in medical treatment. The advocate cited an experiment, which he called the lazy eye experiment, in which participants were asked to cover up one of their eyes and then play a video game. The advocate stated, quote, after 5 hours of gaming, the lazy eye would be restored to normal, end quote. Nowhere in the article or in the actual experiment does it say this at all. In fact, in the actual experiment, it states that some advocates might need more than 50,000 trials to reach a plateau level. The advocate also only cited a source that was a summary of the research experiment. I found the actual research experiment, and there are a lot of errors in it. First off, they only had 20 participants, which is an incredibly small sample. 10 of the participants actually played a video game. 7 used perceptual learning, which means they covered up one eye and then did a physical activity. In this case, it was knitting. And then 3 were the control group. So all of their groups are different sizes, which really messes up their statistics. And then the study actually contradicts itself in the summary when it says, quote, we observed here with video game play, although substantial, it is somewhat smaller when compared to perceptual learning, end quote. And this was a quote in reference to the amount of people that actually improved. So the amount of people that improved in the video game group was actually a smaller number than in the perceptual learning group. And then in their conclusion, again, they say that a large scale of randomized clinical study would need to actually confirm this because their sample was far too small. Then the last claim the advocate made was that video games improve confidence as well as allow people to develop social skills. Yet again, they do not provide any real empirical data or facts. The only evidence they provided was a quote. Was an article by Scott Steinberg where it said, quote, Lord of the Rings further offers depth, atmosphere, and enjoyment by allowing players to band together and work as a team, end quote. That's it, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a value claim stating that by working as a team, they enjoyed themselves, which has nothing to do with social skills. In summary, the advocate did not substantially prove his claim. Thank you.
All right, you did a good job labeling the claims as you went through the argument. On the first point, I thought you had some nice original research documenting the inaccuracies in the two examples that the advocate cited. I thought that was very effective. On the job skills argument, you had a nice counterclaim here with a piece of evidence coming from somebody who functions in the military. I think that that would be something that you could emphasize a little bit, that they have somebody who's an insider who's speaking from experience as opposed to speculating on how this would be beneficial. The transition to the second point was clearly labeled. I thought that you had a very direct contradiction in what the article said. Finding the complete article is helpful. The absence of the exact quote that the advocate used, I think, is also pretty important. It sounds like it, was a summary. And then you kind of deconstructed the structure of the study. Some of those issues would matter. See, I told you this was going to be an issue. Some of those issues would matter if there was going to be an inference drawn by the researchers. It seemed like it was very preliminary research, and they themselves suggested that you would need a wider study in order to get results. But what I did like was the one piece of summary information that said that they got better results in the control group than they did in the study group. So that was pretty effective. Sorry again. On the last point, he had a good press on the evidence. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna stop. There we go.